and welcome to episode 68 of the podcast devoted to the classic and sometimes not so classic genre cinema of yesteryear. This is Bride of Monster Kid Radio. I am your writer, host, producer, Derek M. Cook, and this music that you're hearing right now is the band The Vicissitones. It's their song King Mixer. It's from their album Melody, Rhythm, and Reverb. You can find out more about them at thevicissitones.bandcamp.com. They're also on Instagram and Facebook, and they have their own website at vicissitones.com. I'll make sure there's links in the show notes to all of this over at monsterkidradio.net, so you can check it out when you're done listening to this episode, or even while you're listening to Beth and I talk about a Vincent Price film. Oh, yeah. Vincent Price is always going to have a home here on Bride of Monster Kid Radio. I don't care what genre it is. I don't care when the movie is from. Vincent Price, you know, I've never really expanded the patron saint list of, well, who we consider important here on Monster Kid Radio. Traditionally, it's always been Boris Karloff, Bela Lugosi, and John Agar. But you know what? I think we could add a fourth. I think Vincent Price deserves to be on this list. Vincent Price is a master. It doesn't matter what he's doing. But this week, he's doing something special because we are going to be talking about the 1973 film Theater of Blood. This is a first-time watch for Beth, and having a more theatrical background than myself, I was real curious to see what she would think of the film, and well, I hope you are too, because we're going to talk about that here in a little bit. Now, it would not be an episode of Bride of Monster Kid Radio if we did not have Mark Matzke's Beta Capsule review, looking at Ultraman Taro, going through every single Ultraman episode of every Ultraman series. It's awesome. So Mark is back this week with the next installment there. Plus, we have Kenny's look at famous monsters of Filmland. I'm excited for that too, and I do want to take a second before we move on here. When Kenny sends me his segment, his famous Monsters of Filmland look segment, he usually does it with like an unlisted YouTube video so that I can just download the audio from YouTube. And sometimes for fun, he just puts an image on the YouTube video for just, you know, kind of a ha-ha, look what I got, that kind of thing. And it's fun, and I appreciate it. This time around, though, he did post a picture of himself and his dog, Spanky Dog. Spanky just passed sometime this year, and he made a comment or put that in the graphic that he included in the link that he sent me with the audio file, and I just want to let Kenny know that, you know, my heart goes out to you and your family. Y'all know that while I am primarily a cat person, I'm also an animal person. I grew up with dogs. I grew up with a Brittany Spaniel, and I understand how important they are and how much they are of, you know, being part of the family. And so, Kenny, my thoughts go out to you, man, and I'm sure I can speak for Beth and the rest of the Monster Kid Radio community by showing you some love and care, man. So, anyway, thank you, Kenny, for all the hard work this week. Thank you to Mark. Thanks to Beth. Thanks to you for downloading the show and showing that you are a podcast listener of exquisite taste. Let's go ahead and get on with it right now.
Flesh crawls. Blood curdles. The coffin hasn't been built that can hold him. Dr. Fives rises again.
Five! Wait!
Dr. Fives rises again in an even more startling motion picture with a whole new gallery of gruesome gimmicks of torture and murder. See the scorpion's embrace. The eagle's caress.
No!
The sausage machine. See Dr. Fives outduel his enemies with the most diabolical devices ever created. See Dr. Fives rises again, starring Vincent Price as the menacing Fives and Robert Quarry as the evil Biderbeck. Dr. Fives rises again. All new from American International Pictures. Rated PG, parental guidance suggested. Dr. Fives rises again.
1 second ago, it was human.
Now the most monstrous creation of all, the return of the fly. Human beings are his guinea pigs as once again man challenges the supreme power of the universe, then tries to hide from the world the monsters he has created. What is the terrible secret of his father's death? And how can he keep the world from knowing he is the son of the fly? The world cries out in terror at the return of the fly. You will also see the terrifying tale of a wedding night that turned into a nightmare. She married one of the alligator people. See it happen before your eyes. See the thing that will make your skin crawl. Don't miss the alligator people and the return of the fly.
Live from the land of light in Nebula M78, home of the mighty Ultra Heroes, it's Monster Kid Radio's Beta Capsule Review. Ultraman Taro, Episode 26, I Can Beat a Monster Too. Original air date, September 28, 1973. Kenichi, inspired by a replica mask of Taro, defends a little boy against some bullies. His friend Takeo stays out of it and is reprimanded by his father, who shows up on a bicycle. His father is a purveyor of Kamishibai picture stories and is on his way to the festival at Hachiman Shrine. At the festival, he presents the tale of a fire-breathing centipede monster, and incredibly, a similar kaiju appears. Takeo's father attacks the creature with a spear, but is badly burned and rushed to the hospital. ZAT struggles to defend against giant monster Mukadender. Kotaro is trapped in the monster's web-like spray, so Takeo courageously rushes to help. However, he and Kotaro find themselves launched into the air by the rampaging Mukadender. Will Takeo's bravery become his undoing? I Can Beat a Monster Too delivers a time-honored traditional theme, and in true Taro fashion does so in the context of a father and son relationship. The theme is simple. Don't go starting fights. But if one comes to you, get in there and stand up for yourself, and by all means defend those who can't defend themselves. In this regard, it bears a thematic resemblance to 1969's All Monsters Attack, aka Godzilla's Revenge, in which Godzilla teaches his son Minya and human Ichiro to fight their own battles. Episode 26's traditional theme is enhanced by a traditional art form called Kamishibai, which is a series of static pictures displayed while a storyteller narrates the action. The person telling the story removes each picture as the plot advances, like a slideshow. Kamishibai artists would set up their wooden story frames wherever they thought they could attract a crowd of children, often selling candy with each appearance and returning on a regular schedule to tell stories in serial fashion. This, of course, predated radio and television by many decades, and in this story, members of ZAT show their generational differences by whether or not they remember Kamishibai from childhood. For Bride of Monster Kid Radio's Beta Capsule Review, this is Mark Matzke reporting.
The Monster Bash convention is coming your way fast. It's the gathering of monster movie fans from all around the country with a film festival, guest movie and TV stars, and vendors of collectibles, plus writers and artists. The Monster Bash convention is June 12th through the 14th, 2026 at the Pittsburgh Marriott North. You can meet and chat with actor Gary Conway, the Teenage Frankenstein, in movies from the 1950s. He also appeared in Land of the Giants, Burke's Law, and so much more. It's Butch Patrick from the original Munsters TV show. Get an autograph from this television icon. Daniel Roebuck will be there, happy to meet you. He was Grandpa in the most recent Munsters movie and is one of the greatest memorabilia collectors in the world. Plus a director, writer, and producer of fantastic family films. Director and writer Jack Hill will appear. He was the last person to direct Boris Karloff in films, known for writing and directing the cult movie classic Spider Baby. Actress Beverly Washburn, a fan favorite, will appear at Monster Bash. She starred in Spider Baby, Disney's Old Yeller, Boris Karloff's Thriller TV show, Star Trek, and many more. Producer Bill Diamond will have a massive Muppet display as he worked on many Jim Henson projects and has original Muppets to showcase in an immersive setup. Plus, he's the man behind the documentary series on artist Basil Gogos, a famous Monsters magazine. And it doesn't stop there. Marriott McKnight, a former Miss America, will be at Monster Bash, along with Ohio TV legendary horror host Son of Ghoul, and low-budget monster movie maker David the Rock Nelson will perform a live magic show on stage. Film Fest, movie and TV stars, wall-to-wall collectible vendors. It's Monster Bash, June 12th through the 14th, 2026 at the Pittsburgh Marriott North. Go to the website to see so much more. monsterbash.us. That's monsterbash.us. It's where monster fans converge for the super expo of entertainment.
Hello there, Bride of Monster Kid radio heads. This is Kenny with a look at famous monsters of Filmland. Today we are discussing the 1973 Vincent Price classic, Theater of Blood. It was not covered in FM at the time of its release, but was featured 5 years later in FM 143 in an article about revenge movies entitled R is for Revenge. Near the end of the article, after sections about Price's Fibes films, we see this description of today's movie. Vincent Price made his third great revenge film in as many years when he portrayed Edward Lionheart in Theater of Blood. The premise of this film was much the same as that in the Fibes films, diabolic methods of killing, based this time on the plays of Wild Bill Shakespeare instead of the Bible. Edward Lionheart is obsessed with the famous Bard of Avalon. He portrays his characters with all the gusto and depth required of a true Shakespearean actor, for he believes that a bard in the hand is worth two in the bush. But the critics don't seem to appreciate his work. They ridicule him and give him terrible reviews. But Edward Lionheart does not take criticism lightly and decides to teach each detractor about the wisdom of William, and the pupils will learn the hard way, by dying. And like his counterpart, Dr. Fibes, Edward Lionheart gets right down to the business of extermination in a mind-boggling manner which even Dr. Fibes and his deadly vibes would be proud of. One reporter is hacked to death by a group of hobos who once saved Lionheart from drowning. Another is drowned in a vat of wine. A third, surgically decapitated. He criticized Ed so cruelly he lost his head. Lionheart's other schoolboy pranks include inducing one analyst to become the world's first living heart donor, preparing a doggone large pie made from prize poodles and then stuffing it down the ex-owner's throat, causing him to suffocate, and giving the female member of the critics' circle a hairdo to remember, a 20,000-volt permanent that would have turned the Bride of Frankenstein green with envy. Ah, will Vincent Price ever run out of inventive ways to kill people? We fans of the cinema of vengeance hope not, for there is talk of another Fibes film, Fibes Resurrectus, to be produced by Roger Corman and cameoing the man who takes revenge 9 times a year, our fearless leader, Forey Ackerman. Maybe Vincent has saved the worst for last and will try to dispose of the world's greatest film monster once and for all. That is all for this week's look at famous monsters of Filmland. We will have more next time. For BMKR, this is Kenny saying adios.
When 8 professional critics laughed at Edward Lionheart's acting ability,
Quite insane. Oh my God.
he killed himself. Then, a strange thing began to happen. One by one, the critics themselves were murdered.
His head cut off.
Their deaths were so spectacular, so bizarre, it was almost as if Edward Lionheart had come back from the grave to create them. But of course, that was impossible.
Good day, Mr. Devlin.
Or was it? Vincent Price truly believes this is the most shocking performance of his career. For your own safety, we suggest you agree. You'd better rated R.
I am Dracula, and I bid you welcome to the podcast devoted to the classic, and sometimes not so classic, genre cinema of yesteryear. And I offer you this warning. Sometimes Derek and his guests get excited, and they may spoil a movie or two. You know how excited monster kids can get sometimes. If Monster Kid Radio spoils a movie for you, do not come whining to me. I cannot stand whines.
To be or not to be? That is the question. Brutus is an honorable man. I'm trying to think of those Shakespeare quotes. I got nothing else. I'm drawing a blank. Oh, Romeo, wherefore art thou?
Alas, poor Yorick, I knew him well.
There, thank you. You got to help me out here. You're the theater. You're the theater
I want to
chick.
see how many he would get, folks.
You're the theater chick here. You're the...
Welcome to Bride of Monster Kid Radio.
Cutting me off there.
Episode
60 something. 60 something. I want to set it at the beginning of the show.
Getting cocky.
I'm not getting cocky. I'm getting, I don't know, sloppy? I don't know. Anyway, we're talking about a Vincent Price flick. So, ladies and gentlemen, when your wife says, you know, there's a Vincent Price movie that I kind of want to see, you jump on that. If you haven't already put a ring on that, you do it immediately. I guess she's my wife already, so, but yeah, when she's like, I want to watch Vincent Price, you take advantage of that opportunity and you show her some Vincent Price. And then she says it's something about, like she says something about an actor who's killing people or something. Maybe there's a theater involved. And I'm thinking there's two different Vincent Price movies that come to my mind. One is not this one. And the other one is this one, Theater of Blood. Was this the one you were thinking of?
Yeah.
Okay. Good. Means I don't have to look it up. But no, there's another one where he plays an actor and Peter Cushing is in it as well. Is that Madhouse? It might be Madhouse. Either way, that's not the movie we're talking about. We're talking about 1973's Theater of Blood, a movie as old as I am.
73, a good vintage.
Yeah. You made that joke earlier.
I know, but they weren't around.
Good point. Anyway, 1973, Vincent Price, in a movie that he has reportedly said was one of his favorite movies, because what actor would not have jumped at the chance to kill his own critics?
Okay, I didn't know that, but as you know, one of the things I said right after watching it was it looked like he had a ton of fun making this movie, and yeah, I think he did.
Yeah. Oh, you can tell. You can certainly tell.
There's a special twinkle in his eye.
So Price, I mean, he started on the stage, and you know, he wanted to be an actor from an early age. There's a lot of documentation about how he, you know, got started as a starving artist and a starving actor and all that. And you really tread the boards, you know, really wanted to be a theatrical guy and always wanted to do Shakespeare. However, he didn't really have that opportunity. He became a horror guy. And as much as he embraced those fans, us fans, and the genre, it did kind of preclude him or make it impossible for him to do other roles. And I can't imagine people were jumping at the bit to say, hey, Mr. Price, come do my Shakespeare production. I know you just, you know, killed your wife in the House on Haunted Hill, but why don't you come do this Merchant of Venice or something?
Well, I think now it's become almost fashionable for actors who play an iconic role, especially their first role being iconic, or their first series of roles being iconic. It's fashionable for them to reinvent themselves. I think Daniel Radcliffe has done a really good example.
Oh, yeah.
He's a good example of someone who's done that really well. And a lot of his success has come with doing plays and stuff on Broadway and the West End and different plays like that. And now he's even got his new play that's out there now. But
Well, he's doing a TV show now with
and it's done some TV, and he didn't just sit in a certain magical kid role forever.
Right.
And so I think it was harder in those days if you got stuck in a role to get out of it and do other things. I mean, like, poor Michael Landon is like, oh, look, I'm in a Western. Oh, what's my next big role? Look, I'm out on the plains in a semi-Western again.
Well, Clint Eastwood or John Wayne and all those.
Oh, exactly, and that happened to actors in all different genres, I think.
I mean, our beloved John Agar.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
so
I think the credit is that he withstood the industry, and especially at a time when some stuff politically was crazy with the industry, when he was first coming up and first doing things, to a point where he could make his own movies like this and really do what he wanted to do and do the projects that he chose to do and play these fun roles.
He does seem to be having a blast. They all do. They really. It's weird to say that he's the hero, but he really is kind of the protagonist here, in a weird way. I mean, yes, he's the villain. Yes, he's killing people, but he's our lead. He's our draw. It's his story we're kind of following, sort of. Really, right? Am I wrong here?
Yeah, I think so.
The setup being he's an actor that was snubbed by a number of critics, and was snubbed at an awards show, and
was snubbed for years, and then finally, like, his big final year was snubbed type of a thing, and then he goes a little crazy.
Yeah, I think,
and
I don't think it was all premeditated, because we do see in a flashback, he does, for all intents and purposes, try to unalive himself, right?
Yes, yeah. And that is the intent, and then that just doesn't work out for him.
Right. He's found by the homeless population, I suppose.
Yeah, kind of a reverse Oliver.
Yeah.
I was saying,
And they adopt him as kind of like, and they love the theater too. And, they get involved with his plans and plots to have revenge on the critics who snubbed him over the years.
Well, and because they're in Britain?
Yeah, they shot in London, all on location.
It's all on location in London. And so there was a issue at a certain point in time in the UK especially of meth drinkers. And there's a bright liquid. You see these people that take him in drinking all of the time, and it's meths. It's not some...
So spell that, because it's
METHS, like methamphetamines, but in the liquid form.
I was wondering about that, because I didn't know what it was, but when it showed up on the screen in the end credits, you're like, oh yeah. So I was going to ask you what that was. I don't know what.
And so really, they're just different chemical combinations that give you the similar feeling to what the methamphetamines that people have had to deal with in modern time.
Okay.
In recent decades, shall we say.
Okay.
Have had, but just in like a liquid form, and it was a real problem there for a while. Anybody that watches Call the Midwife knows that.
Huge crossover between Monster Kid Radio and Watch the Midwife. Huge crossover audience.
Don't watch the Midwife.
I don't know.
That's creepy. Don't watch the Midwife. It's a creepy thing to do.
What are you doing? I'm watching the Midwife. Wow. Anyway.
But anyway, that's they have similar issues to people who would use methamphetamines to.
Okay.
Is that fair to say?
It's totally fair to say. I love that it was all shot on location, no studios. They shot in an old theater that had been condemned for years.
That was really cool. That was what a neat backdrop, and it had enough space that they could put cameras wherever they needed.
Oh,
really,
so cool.
Yeah, that was really great.
So cool. Obviously, Vincent Price is our draw. You didn't know Diana Rigg was in this.
I did not know until we were looking at the opening credits, and I was like, oh, fantastic, because I love Diana Rigg. Like, I'm like all for her as a Bond girl, and she's like one of my heroes from a more recent dragon-filled series. and in this, I feel like It's okay to say that she plays Vincent Price's character's daughter.
She plays Edwina.
He's Edward or Edwin.
Well, he's Lionheart. Edwina, the name Edwina was chosen by the screenwriters because it's thought to have been inspired by Edwin Booth, who was the brother of John Wilkes Booth.
Oh, okay.
Edwin Booth was supposedly a much better actor than John Wilkes Booth ever was.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah. So
he didn't have time to sit around thinking up assassination plots.
Right.
He was too busy learning lines. See, fund the arts, people.
But she was really good. She's really good. Now, when we're watching it,
just as good that young as all her other stuff. So she just clearly is a very talented,
very skilled
performer. And this role was a great role for her too. It very well fit her personality.
And I'll say it, she's a looker.
Yeah, she's pretty. She's almost too pretty to be Vincent Price's daughter. I almost say, just because he's kind of a goofy looking guy. So like, and she's...
I'm friends with his real life daughter, right?
Who is also too pretty, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I've seen her too. I'm like, how did that go? Just the genes worked out well, but thank goodness. But like, it makes you wonder, like, who do they see as the stand-in mother?
Okay.
For that.
Well, I want to get back to that here in a second. Just to kind of finish talking about Diana Rigg. Have you ever watched The Avengers, the British TV show?
Yes, a couple times.
So she's Emma Peel in that.
Right, I know. Yeah.
She wasn't they changed out the woman character throughout the course.
Looks really good in like knee-high boots and stuff. So
she's kind of one of the more well-known, probably the most well-known. Vincent Price's, I believe, third wife is in this.
Oh, okay.
I think it's the third.
Is she in the group or?
Yeah.
There aren't very many women in this.
Hi, I'm Butch. That's her in that sequence. She's the victim of the hairdresser.
Yeah.
And Victoria Price has told me and many other people that's her favorite scene of the movie because that was her stepmom.
Oh, no.
Getting killed by her dad. And when her stepmom and her dad got together, their relationship changed and everything. Yeah. And you get a little bit of catharsis there, But going back to Diana Rigg real quick, did you realize that was her the first time we saw her with the mutton, the chops and the mustache?
No, that got me. That totally got me. And I guess we've spoiler warned already.
Yep.
But I really was like, oh my gosh, who's playing that character? I want to look at the end because they're doing a fantastic job of like playing themselves, but in all these other characters. And then I also was like, oh, this is definitely a first and second for the award of best use of sunglasses.
Yeah.
For Vincent Price and then his lieutenant. And then it turns out to be her, which just makes it even more fabulous that I had no idea. Like very much movements of just some shaggy dude that was taking advantage of the situation. The least messed up of the group or whatever. And like I was like, oh, okay. Because I was really like, how's this one guy not all messed up like the rest of them? He's just like shaggy and hanging around or whatever. And I was like, oh, okay, I get it now. But that was a really cool twist. It does seem like there are a few people that have been involved in murder mystery type stuff throughout the cast, including Joan Hickson, who is famous for playing Miss Marple.
Oh,
herself. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, like really famous for it and stuff. And so I find that slightly amusing that of all the people he could put in things, he chose to pick some of those. One, picked older actors to put into his movie, which is great because it gets them.
Well, I don't know how much control he had. I mean, he was just the star. He wasn't the producer or director.
I don't know. I have a feeling by that point he was making. So you don't think he was making?
Well, I'm sure.
Okay. Well, I will give credit wherever credit is due. That they picked.
I mean, he met Carol Brown, Mrs. Moon, on this film, and he had worked, I'm sure, with a handful of these people before, because you can't work in England in film and not work with a handful of these people because there's so many of them with such a diverse filmography.
But he could have picked younger, more with it current actors that were more just kind of middle-aged or whatever.
Okay.
And maybe pulled more audience that way.
Okay.
But whoever chose to, I'm assuming it's a he because of the era, whoever did the casting and chose some of these, really chose some great actors from an older era, which made it really fun because they got to kind of play these big over-the-top characters, like our friend with the dogs, who just is just bubbling over with energy every time he's on the screen. He's chewing up the scenery and stuff, which is fantastic. Like, you'd think the dogs would be chewing things up, but no, it's this actor.
And he chose the dogs.
Yeah, it's a problem. It's
Trigger warning.
Trigger warning. A bad thing happens to the dogs off screen, and you don't actually see anything bad happen to dogs, and nothing bad actually happens to dogs. But the mental picture is disturbing. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I tried to give you as much warning without ruining.
Yeah, no, I had a feeling, well, here's the problem. If you know Shakespeare, you got some spoilers built in before you watch this movie, because once you get that we're following Shakespearean plays, and once a little ways in they show you the list of plays in order, you start to figure out what's going to happen and who's going to go and different things. And so in a way it's fun because the anticipation builds, but you don't need to know Shakespeare. They'll explain it enough for you, but not like over explained, and it's nicely balanced. I think a big part of that is using the theater.
Sure.
Because often the killings are done, I mean, we know this is a movie about killing. It's not surprising to say there are killings. The killings are done in the theater, and then the body is like taken somewhere else to be dumped or left and to be found.
Oh, potentially, yeah. In a lot of the cases, yes.
And so by utilizing that theater space, you have built-in things like pulleys and rigs and backdrops and stuff and lighting that make it easy to shoot something very theatrical.
Yes.
In a way that even if you built some risers and things into like a large room, it's not going to be the same as doing it in the theater.
True.
And so I think that was, like you were saying earlier, a really smart decision when they were scouting the sites and stuff for it, because that really facilitated the things that needed to happen to link the main plot with the Shakespearean side plots that he was trying to tie everything in with.
True. Okay. So speaking of the Shakespeare then, I am not, as obviously by my fumbling at the beginning of this, as familiar with Shakespeare as you.
Okay.
How does that work? How did the movie work for you? As somebody who's more familiar with Shakespeare, and I assume a fan of most Shakespeare, how did that work for you?
I am a fan of whomever wrote the plays that we call Shakespeare, and I am undecided as to who exactly I think that is, and I will not taking suggestions or questions or anything below, so thanks. But whoever did, I think, was a very gifted writer. I think some of his subjects lent themselves towards easier, more lighthearted stories.
Okay.
Even though they still had lessons in them. And I think that's important that this actor is so focused on that. This killer is so focused on that whole every Shakespeare has a lesson, so he's picking the appropriate one for each person that he wants to kill. He's not just being like, spin the dial, it's you next, and that happens to be
Othello.
Yeah, no, he's figured it all out long before.
Okay.
And so that's a neat way to experience a mystery when you keep realizing, oh, he's another step ahead. Oh, he's another step ahead. How many steps ahead is he? And you're never quite sure what all there is. And so I think that's just a really fun way to follow a story. In fact, Theater of Blood was made into a stage. There was a stage adaptation that was produced at the Royal National Theatre.
I would love to see this on stage. I read something about that too.
I could really see it, and I could see using some minimalistic theater with moving pieces and turning walls and things with stuff on different sides to really stage that. It could be really fun. Yeah.
Some scenes were redone, like the hairstyling scene, which is one of my favorites, because hi, I'm Butch. That's just amazing.
Yeah.
The stuff that doesn't take place in a movie in a stage in a theater did not appear in the stage play just because
Yeah.
they were using the stage. I think it would be amazing to see. And Diana Rigg's daughter plays Edwina. It played Edwina in that.
Oh, brilliant. That's wonderful.
That's pretty darn cool. Although, how do you cast somebody to play a role originated by Vincent Price? How do you do that?
Okay, as someone who has cast Shakespeare, which has some iconic actors that are tied to certain roles,
Sure.
is that fair to say?
Yeah.
And other plays like things by Oscar Wilde that have iconic people tied to them. I would say you need an actor that's willing to make the role their own, but they're willing to acknowledge the greats that have come before them. And sometimes they do that with very tiny nods. It might be a single piece of clothing or something, or an accessory or something. It may be one certain phrase that they say the same way that person did because they've made it so iconic. You never know what it's going to be, but you need someone who's willing to study the part if it's got an iconic history behind it. So you're going to need somebody who would study, I think, both the script, but then even if you don't watch Vincent Price's performance in the movie, because I know some people are like, I don't want it to be exactly the same. You need to have an understanding of who Vincent Price is and his career, and maybe watch some clips of him and other things so you get a feel for him, because somebody that originates a role like this, that I just can't think of anybody else originating it in that time period.
How would you feel about Jim Broadbent?
No.
That's who did it on stage.
Wow. Okay. Well.
Yeah. Crazy.
No, okay, I can see him doing it on stage. But here's what I'd say. I can't see him having been the first one to do it on film.
No.
That's what my point is.
And the characterization that Price brings had to be on film to capture all of it. Because he's such a big presence. And you had asked me right before we started, is this campy? And I said, oh, yeah. And there is a lot of campiness. I mean, Price is doing some really over-the-top accents. He's got that big old hair as Butch, but then the whole bit with like,
but some of it is under guise of a bit of insanity, and we definitely see in flashbacks. He's done that. He's drank a little bit of mess himself at least once. So, and it's like pink or something, so that's not right.
Oh, he's way over the top. He's having you can tell.
He's having a blast, exactly.
That's the thing is when Price is on a roll and having a good time, you can tell because he goes big.
Well, and he has, like I said, the advantage of them being set in a theater is even if they're not going to do the killing in a theater, his whole theater worth of old props. Of course, they've got all the Shakespearean stuff and curtains he can throw around himself like a cape or whatever he wants. He's got all this stuff he can pull from, and then they go out and stage their killing or whatever, and then they can go back to their base. But at the same time, he still has all this wealth of Shakespearean stuff to draw from because it's the only thing he does.
It's so good.
It's really fun.
I actually, and I don't think you've seen these. Have you seen the Dr. Phibes movies?
No.
Okay. So Dr. Phibes came out, The Abominable Dr. Phibes, came out in 1971. Its sequel came out in 1972. This one could basically be a spiritual successor in 1973. And basically, the Phibes movies sometimes get credited or cited as proto-Saw films.
Okay.
Because it's about a guy who is exacting revenge in creative ways against people that have wronged him, the way that the Jigsaw Killer does in the Saw movies. Obviously not as gruesome because it was the 70s versus when those movies were made. And I feel like this movie kind of falls into that too a little bit.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of things that are done off screen, but you're given a hint of it, or you're given a sound, or you're given a shadow, or,
When he cuts the dude's head off.
Yeah.
What is happening there? Dude. And Price is like, give me the saw. And I was like, dude.
Well, and I mean, some of it can become there are that's, I guess, the fun for me of knowing a little bit about Shakespeare beforehand. Or I will give you, if you know almost nothing about Shakespeare, if you know English history,
Yeah.
you're going to get at least one giggle ahead of time.
Okay. What do you mean?
And I'll just say, look for when they go to the winery.
Oh, okay.
Shakespeare fans and English history fans, watch for when they go to the winery.
Okay.
And you'll definitely get a giggle, because I sure did. But no, I thought it was kind of nicely woven in. It's not all the most expected plays. He didn't just go like, what would you think? He didn't just go like, Macbeth and
Yeah.
what else?
I feel like they specifically chose their Shakespearean lineup in terms of the writing, to make sure the murders could, or even in the one case, they didn't even kill one guy; they just sent him to prison basically for murder.
Yeah.
So that's the one thing that I think is a bummer about this movie, is there are a couple of innocent bystanders. The dogs and then the one dude's wife are killed along the way. And it's not their fault. They didn't write the bad reviews. So I that's the one bummer about the movie for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, the dogs and then the
dude's wife.
The wife.
Yeah.
Although, I don't know, she clearly been married to him a long time and benefited from him, so maybe.
Well, and it's implied that she's been cheating on him anyway. And,
yeah.
Yeah. Not that that's, anyway. The cast of the critics, you mentioned that they were all a little bit older. They weren't like the heartthrobs or whatever. They were established actors of television, veterans of the theater and stage and screen.
Yeah.
Dennis Price, you had asked if he was related. He's not, but he's done quite a bit in genre movies. He played Dr. Frankenstein. Which, is a thing.
Yeah.
He appeared in a number of kind of lower budget and more exploitative type movies down the line. But, he's one of the critics, and Ian Hendry is chosen to be like the last critic standing.
Yeah.
He was the one they were going to put the knives in his eyes. I really liked him too. I mean, I like the entire cast. Some of them are a little bit more cartoony, like the guy with the dogs, than others. But overall, I mean, I think it's a good cast. And I really enjoyed it. We have some minor connections to some Hammer films, with like Madeline Smith being in the cast, and she was in a couple of Hammer films. You had somebody else who was in Twins of Evil and a few other things like that. But this is not a Hammer film. This is not an Amicus movie. This is its own thing, distributed by United Artists. And I know Vincent Price was happy about that, because a lot of his movies up until that point, during that era, were being released to grindhouse movie theaters and cheapy drive-ins and things like that. And he wanted to, he knew the horror industry kind of gave him his career, but he wanted to do so much more. And I don't blame him. I mean, he was definitely a talented dude. And so I'm glad that this one got a little bit broader distribution than, say, House on Haunted Hill or, any of the other lower budget efforts. And I know we love doing the Roger Corman films, but let's be honest, the Roger Corman films were drive-in fare. So, this one got a little bit more prestige behind it.
No, it's a really fun plot. I mean, to the point where even as a theater director, I'd say I wouldn't mind producing it, because you get a little bit of a bunch of different Shakespeare, but it's not like getting assaulted with an entire 4-hour Shakespeare play, the same play night after night. It's just the little best bits of lots of different ones, or the most, not necessarily the most known, but some of the best bits, I think, or the most apt for the situation.
I've seen this before. The last time I saw it was actually on the big screen. Saw it, it was either at the Hollywood or at the Joy back in Portland. I can't remember which. It's been so long. But I do remember seeing it then. That was the last time I saw it. And like I said, I don't know Shakespeare as well as you, but I still enjoyed the heck out of it. I wonder if I knew Shakespeare a little bit better, if I would have enjoyed it even more.
I think so.
Yeah, I don't know. It's an enjoyable movie, and like I said,
Definitely details that I think become Easter eggs if you're the only one watching that knows Shakespeare.
yeah.
Because they, like I said, they have that whole theater worth of stuff, and they use it well.
Theater full of stuff, and they use it well. A theater full of blood, perhaps. I really dug it, man. I really did. And like I said, when your partner says, I want to watch a Vincent Price movie, you jump on that. You find a Vincent Price flick, something like this, and you just, The Price is Right, something or other. You wanted to, yeah. I don't know. I'm kind of rambling at this point. I enjoyed it. Any final thoughts?
I am willing to watch more stuff that he's in later in life like this, because that was fun.
I think you would enjoy the Roger Corman productions. The Edgar Allan Poe stuff.
Yeah, I do really like Edgar Allan Poe anyway, so I think I would probably enjoy that.
Like Mask of the Red Death and some of the others.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of those. Yeah. What do you think, listeners? Do you think she would like Dr. Phibes? I feel like The Abominable Dr. Phibes is an acquired taste. I struggle with them a little bit. I actually enjoyed this one more than the Phibes films. So I'm curious, listeners, do you think Beth would enjoy The Abominable Dr. Phibes? Let's put that out there. What do you think? Are there any other 1970s-ish Vincent Price films that she should check out? We have talked about doing like a Price segment, maybe not every week, but we're talking about doing something with Price. We need to do more Vincent Price anyway on the show. It's been way too long since we've gotten a Price check.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Wow, you snuck that in there.
I was setting up. That was a long walk to get there, but I was setting up for it.
Nice.
The next time Beth appears on the show will be after we've had a chance to watch Phantasm, which is playing next week at the Pollock Cinema. Was it cinema or theater? It's playing at the Pollock here in...
it's a nice place to watch a movie.
Yeah, we've gone there a couple of times. This is part of the Spookorama?
Yeah.
That Terror Trader does. But yeah, they're doing Phantasm next week. So it's the Pollock Cinemas in Tempe. You can check them out over at pollocktempeCinemas.com. I'll make sure there's a link in the show notes. If you are there, Beth and I would love to meet you.
Yep.
And chat it up and watch some Phantasm, which is a first-time watch for her. I really, really hope she likes it. I've shown it to previous partners, and, there's a reason why I didn't stay with them.
Really? That's it? That feels like an easy hurdle to jump.
No. The reason I didn't stay with them, the reason I didn't stay with them is because they weren't you, honey. I hadn't met you yet.
Exactly.
Well, that brings us to the end of this episode of Bride of Monster Kid Radio. Thank you for being here. Thanks for listening. Thanks for, doing the sharing and the retweeting and the re-Xing and the posting and everything else that you do to help spread the word about what we do over here. When you do spread the word, make sure you send them to our website at monsterkidradio.net. This is where you're going to find everything you need to know about the podcast. Everything that we've talked about here on the show, you're going to find over there as well as links to all of our social media and our contact information. Our email address is monsterkidradio@gmail.com, or you can call and leave us a voicemail at 360-524-2484. The website is where you're going to find the show notes for this episode, and longtime listeners know that usually about midweek, I will go on a blitz across all of our social media channels, Blue Sky, X, Facebook, and so on, and post the show notes there again, just to kind of give people a reminder about what we do here at Bride of Monster Kid Radio. But on Patreon, it's a little different. Patreon.com/Monster Kid Radio. Go over there and become a free member. You can just follow us for free over there, because when I do that blitz, that midweek show notes blitz, this is where I announce what the next episode is going to be. At the very bottom, where it says coming soon, next time on Monster Kid Radio or Bride of Monster Kid Radio, that's where I post it. So you want to follow us over there if you want to be ahead of the game and maybe even watch the movie that we're going to be talking about so that you know what we're going to be getting into in the next episode. So please consider following us over there. Like I said, you can do it for free. Of course, we appreciate it if you help us by becoming a paying patron, but just following us for free will get you that information as well. Also, before we wrap up this week, y'all know that the Rondo Hatton Classic Horror Film Awards, the ballot has been announced. Now, I do want to talk about this a little bit more in depth, maybe on next week's episode, but I really want you to go over to the Classic Horror Film Board, because this is where you're going to find the ballot. Go there. It's like the third listing from the top in the forums, the Rondo Hatton Classic Horror Awards. The official ballot for the 24th annual Rondo Hatton Classic Horror Awards is available now. There's a lot of information on here, and what I love most about this is that it usually serves as the absolute best checklist of all the cool Monster Kid stuff that happened in the previous year. Yeah, there's some modern stuff on here too, and that's awesome. You know, the best film category's got movies like Sinners on it, which, I mean, so good. But you're also going to find categories like Best Blu-ray, Best DVD Extras, Best Commentary Track, Best Independent Film, Best Short Film. This year even has a special category celebrating 70 years of Godzilla. They've got a category for Best Book on 70 Years of Godzilla. How cool is that? And yeah, you're going to see a lot of familiar names on the ballot because, you know, here at Monster Kid Radio, Bride of Monster Kid Radio, Team Death, and just me personally, I love celebrating and hanging out with the creators in the Monster Kid community. So you're going to see a lot of familiar names over here. Of course, there is the podcast category as well, and there are a lot here. Category 20, Best Podcast. A lot of mainstays, some new faces here, previous winners here, and yeah, we're even on there too. Now, they do have us listed as Monster Kid Radio as opposed to Bride of Monster Kid Radio. I have reached out to David, the man who runs this thing, to let him know that, hey, you know, the name of the show is now Bride of Monster Kid Radio, but it doesn't matter. We're on that ballot too. But seriously, check out these podcasts. There's some really cool shows here, and I want to celebrate everybody who is nominated for a Rondo. So please check out the Classic Horror Film Boards, check out the ballot, and really think about who you want to see maybe join people like, well, me in the Monster Kid Hall of Fame. There has been a little bit of a push online already for some people that folks want to see get inducted into the Monster Kid Hall of Fame. This is a wide open category. It's completely right in. And I think it's really cool that we've seen people recommend Jim Hendrix get inducted into the Monster Kid Hall of Fame. Now, it would be a posthumous induction. He's no longer with us, but who was Jim Hendrix? It was Commander USA, host of Commander USA's Groovy Movies. There are so many horror hosts in the Monster Kid Hall of Fame. Why not add Commander USA? I know he was important to a lot of Monster Kids and movie viewers back in the day, so why not? Let's see it happen. Write in Commander USA for Monster Kid Hall of Fame. Yeah? All right. Bride of Monster Kid Radio is a Team Death production. All original content of Bride of Monster Kid Radio is licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, No Derivatives 4.0 Unported license. You can learn more about Team Death, our other projects like Death Designs, Mail Order Zombie, the Team Death YouTube channel, and more at www.teamdeath.com. Remember, death is spelled D-E-T-H. All previous episodes of this podcast, as well as the original Monster Kid Radio podcast, are available at www.monsterkidradio.net. Please rate and review Bride of Monster Kid Radio wherever you download your favorite podcasts. King Mixer is copyright 2023, The Vicissitones. You can find it on their album Melody, Rhythm, and Reverb over at thevicissitones.bandcamp.com. You can also find them on Facebook, Instagram, and on their own website, vicissitones.com. I'll make sure there's a link in the show notes, of course. Make sure you let them know that you heard about them here on Bride of Monster Kid Radio. My name's Derek M. Cook. I'll talk to everybody next week. Or maybe even this Thursday night if you join Beth and I for a screening of Phantasm at the Pollock Cinemas. Ciao.